Professional players, they're going to string their rackets at a higher tension, probably 28 pounds or above, but should you do the same? Hello guys, today we're going to talk about this. A fascinating piece of badminton gear. It's very small, but it has one of the biggest impacts on your game. A lot of players, they like to follow what professional players are doing in hopes that they would play more like their favorite player. It can be a good idea if you understand what it takes to play at a higher tension, and then use that knowledge to set goals for yourself and improve your skills, then gradually increase your tension. Yes, you're going to want to play at a higher tension because there are many benefits that come with it. Now, for the most part, I'm going to be talking about the string tensions. For badminton, it's usually around 20 to 30 pounds, and I'm going to be going into that. But first, I want to lay down some basics of the types of string out there. For the new players that are starting badminton, hopefully this will help players pick out the right string for themselves, because one of the most common things I've seen is that new players have their racket and it came with a factory string, which is a very thick and durable string, but it has very, very poor repulsion properties. So it's really not a pleasure to play with. I would strongly suggest that these players try to replace the string with an aftermarket one as soon as possible. You're going to feel a world of a difference. It's really going to elevate your experience when you play badminton. It's going to feel so much better. For the most part, strings can be divided into two types, roughly. It's going to be ones that are more durable and ones that have a higher performance. And I'll get into what that means. I'm going to be mentioning strings from Yonex, the brand. If you want to use any other brands, you can always ask your stringer to suggest the same type of string but a different brand. So whether a string is more durable or have a higher performance usually is determined by the thickness and the coating of the string. So for the first string, BG65, which is known for its durability, it will last a lot longer, and that's because it's a thicker string. A thicker string is usually at 0.7 millimeters. And in addition to that, the string has a smoother coating to decrease friction. As a result, it's going to have a bit of a softer contact feel. BG65 has quite a good repulsion, at least much better than the factory strings, but it's not going to be as good as something like a BG80, which is another popular string because of the hitting sound and the high repulsion properties, as well as its control and solid contact feel. Now, all of these benefits come with a downside because this string is thinner and it has a textured coating, which is going to increase the friction and it's going to wear down the coating a lot sooner. It's going to cut into itself at the intersecting points. So that's going to break sooner than the BG65. A lot of people feel like it's a small price to pay for having all those benefits. But if you want a durable string like BG65, but a slightly better repulsion and a bit more solid feel, then you can try the BG65 Ti, which is almost the same as a BG65 in terms of the thickness and the durability, but it has a different coating that's going to increase repulsion and it's going to have a more solid contact feel. Now let's move on to talking about the tension levels. So when we're talking about strings, the strings are woven into like a net, and when it's tightened, it acts like a trampoline. And most people know what a trampoline does, right? It flexes and returns to its shape. It snaps back. It creates a bounce that provides a force. That's what happens when we hit the shuttle. So with a low tension and a high tension, that bounce is going to be different depending on the situation, depending on the shot that you're making. A slower shot or a faster shot. With a slower shot like a net shot, the low tension is going to bounce much more easily than a higher tension. It's going to flex and snap back quite easily. And that could be good or bad depending on your level. For higher level players, they actually don't want their net shot to be bouncing too high because it'll just get killed by the opponent. For lower level players, it's actually a good thing. Just to be clear, it's not that it's good that they're making a higher net shot, but that it wouldn't matter as much at this level because the opponent is less likely to punish them for it. But at the same time, they will have an easier time hitting other shots like clears and smashes. Because lower level players, their swing is not going to be as fast as high level players. And if there is a slower swing, right, it's harder to flex that bed of string. It's harder to get that bounce. So that's why you want a lower tension. And this leads me to the next point. We have to talk about the sweet spot. For the lower tension, the sweet spot is going to be bigger, and the high tension, the sweet spot is going to be smaller. But the trade-off is that the bounce from the lower tension is going to be less powerful than the high tension. And that's because this bounce is going to happen at a slower speed. And that translates into lower power. But because the sweet spot is so big that even if you miss the center of the strings, you're still going to get some bounce and it's not going to feel terrible. If you have a higher tension with a smaller sweet spot and you miss the sweet spot, you hit the side, it's where it's very, very tight. Okay, it's going to feel dead. You're not going to be able to transfer the energy, the power in your arm, in your body into the shuttle. And conversely, it's actually going to repel some of that energy back into your arm, into your muscle, in your joints. You're going to feel quite a bit of discomfort. You're going to feel stiffness. And if you do it for too much, for too long, you might even injure yourself. So we want to be careful about that. At a lower tension, the shuttle's going to stick to the strings for a longer time compared to the high tension. Because the string is flexing at a slower speed, the shuttle's going to be staying on the string for a longer time before the string repels it. And that means that it will probably leave the string at a different angle from where it started. But with a high tension string, because this repulsion is so quick that it will leave the string at a very similar angle from where it started. So that's going to make it a lot more accurate. And this is going to be apparent when we're doing the testing. So hitting the sweet spot alone is still not enough, especially when you're at a very high tension, maybe up 28, 29, 30s, because there's a very difficult thing in badminton, and that is timing. The timing of your swing and the focus of power in your swing. You have to be able to focus the power into a specific point in your swing to be able to have enough energy to flex that very tight string bed. Why is this so? It's because the badminton racket is very light. That's a good thing, right? It's a good thing because we can swing fast quite easily, but it will also slow down very quickly because there's not much weight to it. There's no momentum. Which means that through training and practice, we have to get really good at trying to focus the power into a very specific point in the swing at the contact point in order to have enough energy to be able to flex the sweet spot on the string. What makes it even more difficult is that there are different timings for a lot of different situations, even for the same shot. For example, the smash. You can smash at a lot of different positions, a lot of different situations. And that's going to require different timing. You have to go through a lot of training and practice to be able to know when is the timing for that particular situation or position. The last thing is, if you want to hit powerful shots with a high tension, you have to hit the shuttle directly in a perpendicular angle. If not, then you're going to be slicing the shot. While higher level players will intentionally slice the shot in order to make the shuttle spin really quickly so that it will dive down quicker. But if you're going to go for a powerful shot like the smash, if you slice it, you're just going to be wasting a lot of energy. All that power is just going to go to the side of the shuttle, making it spin. You're not going to be able to flex the string bed. After understanding all of this, the most important thing for you now is to test and find out the most appropriate tension for your level. So when you test, it's actually quite simple. You can prepare 2 or 3 different rackets with different tensions, and you can test that individually on certain skills. Now, I recommend that you test this on a stronger, faster shot like a smash or a drive, because that's really going to give you a lot more idea. The feeling is going to be more obvious. Pick a tension and start smashing for about 10 minutes, and then switch to another racket and smash for another 10 minutes. You're going to try to feel the difference between these 2 rackets. If you feel a lot of discomfort and stiffness in your arm. You're trying your best trying to smash the shuttle. It's not going that fast. You're probably playing at a tension that's too high for you. If you feel almost no discomfort, it feels like you're swinging the racket fast, but the shuttle is not going as quick as your swing. On top of that, it's really hard to control the shuttle. You're trying to smash and it goes into the net, into the ground, which it normally never does for you. You're probably playing at a tension that's too low for you. And we've mentioned this before at the first part, is that because the shuttle is sticking onto the string for a longer time, and because your swing is very, very fast, it's going to flex that string. It will stay on the string for longer. And when it leaves the string, it will leave the string at a different angle from where it started. That's why it's less accurate. That's why it's going to the net, right? So if you have the appropriate string for you, it's going to repel the shuttle very quickly at an angle that's very close to where it started. So hopefully this has been helpful for a lot of people, not only to find the right tension for your level, but also understand what it takes to play at a higher tension and use that to improve areas of your game, of your skill, of your conditioning, and then gradually increase the tension until you're at the high tension level. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.